Can.
Let's go out in a blaze of glory. I just want you to attack him with your face into that 4-2.
There, in my mind, there is no difference between the steps it takes to become a professional esports athlete versus becoming a traditional athlete. I have to make sure that everyone else has the same opportunity, otherwise it doesn't work. I actually had a lot of fun though watching the League of Legends, the Championship Series. So
yeah,
the pro teams like playing, and I got my kids into watching it too, and they really liked it.
All right, welcome to the first episode of Esports Role Models. My name's Ryan, and I'm really excited to have Chris Kluwe on the show with us. Chris is a former NFL punter for the Vikings who played most of his career, setting multiple team records, including the highest career average points. He's also a dedicated social rights activist who has supported social equity and freedom of speech. And Chris has co-written a few books. Recently, he released his first solo-written work, Otaku, a novel about dystopian cyberpunk Miami, where the main character, Ashley, must reveal a deadly conspiracy. And mainly for us, Chris is an avid gamer who plays games like World of Warcraft, League of Legends, XCOM, Hearthstone, and Path of Exile now, among many others. So Chris, welcome. We're excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
How has quarantine been treating you?
Well, it's certainly changed things quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's funny. I actually help coach freshman football at the local high school. And so we're currently in phase 1, which essentially means all we can do is just conditioning, right? Like we can't do any sort of like contact or drills with the balls or like even put pads on or anything. So
yeah,
it's been good for me in that for the past 6 months, I haven't really done anything. So now I'm out like running with the kids and stuff, trying to get back into shape.
Nice. Yeah.
I think I've put on my quarantine 10 pounds over the course of this. Yeah, no, I didn't start playing football till my freshman year of high school. Like I played soccer and baseball growing up, and I had no intention of playing football until I was like, well, I need a fall sport because here in California, football's a fall sport, and then baseball's in the spring, soccer's in the winter. But yeah, I was like, well, I can kick a soccer ball really far. You know, I'll go try out for the football team. And yeah, my freshman year, like I had no idea what I was doing. It's just like, okay, I guess if I do this, the ball might go farther.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to be like taught, you know, by people who knew what they were doing in order to figure out, okay, here are all the little small details that go into making, you know, an athlete.
Right. Well, you know, so the other dimension that I'd love to touch on here throughout your career was, you know, nowadays it's become more normal for a lot of athletes to be outspoken outside of just the sport and kind of bringing political activism, social activism into their career as well. I know that you faced a couple of those challenges while you were in the NFL, and given the pressures you faced, what drove you to be so continuously outspoken and taking a stand on the issues that were important to you at the moment?
Yeah, so for me, it's always boiled down to I want to live in the world. I want to live in a world where I can do the things that I want to do. You know, like I don't want people harassing me or, you know, keeping me from, you know, from enjoying my life, right?
Yep.
But in order for me to live in that world, I have to make sure that everyone else has the same opportunity. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Like it's because if we allow, you know, prejudice to exist, well, that circle's going to turn, and sooner or later it's going to be your turn. Like, so it's better off to just make sure, okay, we don't have bigotry, we don't have intolerance, you know, we don't have homophobia or racism.
Continue to talk about the multidimensionality of your career outside of being an athlete. You are a writer as well. So Otaku has favorable reviews which is super impressive for being your first solo writing project.
Yes.
So I guess to start, what drove you to want to like start writing both on the collaborative front and the solo book, for example?
Well, I've always been a huge nerd. Like I grew up reading tons of sci-fi fantasy. My parents, I think my first video game system was my parents got me a Nintendo Entertainment System. So like the dual Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt cartridge that came with the light gun. So yeah, if it was up to me, I would have spent my childhood just staying inside playing video games and reading books. But my parents were like, no, it's light outside. You need to go outside. You need to do physical activity.
Yeah.
And you know, I was fortunate enough to also be gifted at sports, to, you know, to have that blessing of genetics and, you know, talent that like you just sometimes some people win the genetic lottery, like some people don't. Like it's like that's one of the things that sucks about sports. It's like there are some people that'll just be like, always just run faster than you. Like that's
Yep.
just what happens.
Always be taller than you. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Yeah. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I always enjoyed reading, and I've always been able to read very, very quickly, so I can just tear through books like at a pretty rapid pace. And it wasn't until I would say probably probably when I started playing WoW that in order to amuse myself, I would hang out on the Realm forum for my particular realm, Kill Jaden, and I would troll other people. But my goal was always to look for the other trolls who were being, and then try to make them rage quit. Like, it's no fun if it's just, some poor person who just wants to have fun playing this game. Like, I want to look for the people who are making their lives miserable and then make their lives miserable in return.
Man, yeah. World of Warcraft Batman right there.
Yeah. So I got a lot of experience in learning like what makes an effective argument, right? Like what people respond to, what sticks in their mind. But yeah, so then I kind of transitioned that into once the marriage equality stuff started happening, I'm like, okay, like I can write, columns about this, like why this is important, why people should care about this, why outlawing same-sex marriage like is not cool. That's not something a society should allow to happen, because everyone needs to have the freedom to live their lives. From there, I realized I actually enjoyed writing, like, because growing up, going through school, like I didn't really like writing. I mean, I liked reading, but the writing part of it, I was just like, I don't really want to do this.
Yeah.
But if you want to be a good writer, like reading lots of books really helps, because you start to recognize, okay, here's how certain authors, talk. Here's how they style their arguments. Like and you start to develop your own voice. And it's if any people watching this are aspiring writers, like read as much as you can in as many different genres as you can, because it will make you a fantastic writer. And so, yeah, that kind of brought me to the present day, where I tried doing a couple other books, self-published one with a friend called Prime. Another note to any aspiring writers out there: if you're self-publishing through Amazon, do not name your book Prime, because when people search for Amazon Prime, they will not find your book.
Not an SEO trick right there. No, that's yeah.
So, but that one was fun to write. It wasn't great. Like it was okay. But we had fun writing it, and it's floating around out there. People who read it liked it. So, but you can definitely tell it was raw. And then I ended up writing Otaku as a sort of a direct middle finger to Gamergate, where I was just like, I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with what happened during Gamergate. It was essentially a bunch of harassers tried to drive some women out of the video game industry. I wanted to write a book where sort of the traditional straight white nerd rage male gamer would read the first couple chapters and be like, oh, this is really cool, this is the type of book I love. And then right around chapter 3, they'd be like, wait a minute, am I the bad guy? So it was a lot of fun writing that.
All right, so I think what we're going to do now is get into the gaming session. So I'm going to introduce Coach Jared. He is our League of Legends and Hearthstone coach. He's built out a couple decks for you to use, and we're going to go ahead and get into this. So, Jared, I wanted to, why don't you do a quick introduction of yourself, and let's, for the viewers out there who are parents who have no idea what Hearthstone is, could we get a quick intro of what the game's about?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Jared Erickson. I'm a coach at N1 Esports. I work with their League of Legends and Hearthstone programs. I also double as a collegiate head coach for a program deals with esports in Aurora, Illinois. Today we're going to be playing Hearthstone, which is similar to most trading card games, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, things like that, except it's virtual and it's strategy driven, and it's a lot like a lot of other games on computers which are free to play. So you don't have to pay anything to get into it. It's very easy to earn new stuff, and there's always new cards being introduced. A lot of the cards that are in the game are influenced by Blizzard's world that they've created. So games like World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, Heroes of the Storm, they all have influences on the cards that are put into the game. So yeah, if Chris, you want to load up your account here, we'll take a look at a couple of the decks I prepared for you. If you want to just go ahead and launch one of those into game, sure. We'll see what we end up getting matched up against.
We'll go Tempo Rogue first.
Early on, what are we playing against? Okay, we're playing against the Demon Hunter.
Yeah, so probably aggro.
Yes, he's going to be aggro, so we're going to want to get as much control as we can.
So probably both of the Maniacs gone?
We'll throw the Maniacs back. Yep. The Pharaoh Cat is an excellent turn 1 play.
Sap, yes or no?
We can hold the Sap. It might come in handy.
Okay.
Just to slow down their tempo.
Time grows short. Is this going to be one of these players that lets you down to the end?
Okay. So that's about as good a play he's going to get early on here.
Okay.
So you can actually take full board control here.
Yeah. Do we want to take full board control?
Yeah, we have no reason not to throw out the Pharaoh Cat and then backstep. Because then on turn 2, if he drops another 2 health minion, we can always just dagger up and knock it down.
Okay. All right. So now for our turn, are we looking? We probably want to save Eviscerate, correct?
We can. If we're gonna hold the Eviscerate, then
well,
we're gonna be.
Well, you're the coach, so should we go? Do we want to go full aggro, coin into another cat and Eviscerate?
I don't think we want to Evis here with the coin. If we were gonna make a coin play, we would play the Pharaoh Cat and then coin for dagger, so that we could attack in with our active cat and then kill the Vile Fiend.
Okay.
Another line would be sapping him and slowing him down and forcing him to spend 1 mana on that.
Yeah, I kind of like the sap.
Okay, let's roll with the sap and see how it works out for us, and then we get that damage to face.
Yep.
So this sets up really nicely here. We can sap the Battle Fiend back and Evis the Frostweaver.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or the Frozen Shadow Weaver.
Yeah. Okay. Then we're getting into big minions.
Yep. Then we start dropping some minions, and we're not having to use the coin, which on turn 6, hopefully we can coin out the Winged Guardian, because he can't target that with spells. Okay, so he's going to use... there it is. Glade-Bound Adept.
Ooh, okay.
Not too big of a deal. We can drop our Winged Guardian.
Yep.
We just picked up Galakron as well. That'll help us out here.
Okay, yeah, because now we're going to be going into 7 twice. So.
Yep, we have a 7 drop and then another one.
All right.
Galakron is going to give us armor. Galakron is the new card that was introduced. They have it for a couple of the classes. Oh, of course he had that.
What does Devastation do?
So there are 4 different options. You have to already be Galakron to use it.
Okay.
So once we play Galakron, we can unleash a Devastation, which allows us we can deal 5 damage to all other minions. We could summon an 8/8 with Taunt. We can deal 5 to the enemy hero and heal 5, or we can give all our other minions +2/+2.
It's all right. I know what I'm doing.
We're good. No, we're good. You knew that.
Glad you do. I don't.
Okay, so that's a 4/2 with Divine Shield +2.
If we lose, we'll edit this one out.
What? He's going to deal 7. Yep.
Come on, guy. Help us out here.
Oh, my God.
Oh, so much damage.
I don't think there's an out. Oh, my goodness. That might be the out. Let's play Secret Passage and see what we pull.
Sure. The best part of Hearthstone, RNG.
Oh my God. There's no healing, no armor.
Yeah. I think we're done.
We can't clear everything off the board.
You know
what?
As I can.
Let's go out in a blaze of glory. I just want you to attack him with your face into that 4/2, so he doesn't get the satisfaction of killing us.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Yep.
So
victory is mine.
I was kind of hoping we were gonna pull Ethereal Lackey off of that play, which would have let us discover a spell, which would have possibly led to Fan of Knives, which deals 1 to all enemy minions.
Yep, that would have worked. it would have cleared a bunch. I don't know they would have saved us. That guy had pretty good board control.
Yeah, he did. All right, let's try a different deck.
No, so that's the thing though. Like, it really is like you have to grind out hundreds, if not thousands, of games if you want to make legendary, because you're just looking for that 51, 52%.
Yeah, even the best decks are only like maybe upwards of 55 to 60% win rate.
That's interesting.
It still takes so many.
Yeah.
But
let's do Evolve Shaman, and then we'll
we got to get a dub. We got to get a dub, guys.
I know we're kind of suckering you in here, Chris, to spend more time with us with the promise of Hearthstone.
That was always the plan.
We're going to get a win, the final one. We're going to do it. It's I will say it is like starting your deck from rank 25 versus rank 5. Like you get a lot more experience, just kind of taking it through the various paces.
Yeah. Okay, so this hand is decent. We'll get rid of Kronks. We don't want him.
All right.
Oh gosh. Oh, we got one more health. Okay.
We got it.
All right. Well, turn 2 is looking like a totem turn.
Yep.
Oh God.
Yes.
No, he can't get Fantasy. He can't play it. He got Shiv. Okay, we get 2 4/4s. But oh my God.
There's this other backstab.
Come on. Okay. And then after we do that, we'll evolve them.
Okay.
So we'll plop that right between them.
Boop.
See what we get.
Oh.
Whoa.
Heyo.
Wow. Use our hero power? We got Dragon Bane off of that. We deal 5 damage to him. We're destined to win this one.
Yeah,
don't say that, Jared. Don't say that.
I'm feeling it.
We're making up for lost time.
The totems aren't his concern. Okay, he played 2/2 Edwin.
But here comes the hand dump.
Oh, Coerce. Okay, he destroyed a minion. And
That was it.
Oh, we win. So,
Yeah.
Wait. No. We got it. So, drop Mogu, Flesh Shaper.
Why don't we just punch him with the knuckles?
Because we want to use the randomly generated Dragon Bane to teach him a lesson.
Okay.
So we're going to Mogu, and we're going to attack the 2/2 with it.
Okay.
And then we're going to attack his face with Dragon Bane, and then Hero Power to kill him.
Okay.
With our RNG generated Dragon Bane. And the well plane comes out.
Yes, we did it!
We got the win.
That was great.
Let's go.
1 and 4. So I made one good deck.
That's all we needed.
Honestly, I didn't think the Evolved Shaman was going to get the win.
Well, let it be said, though, the card that got the win wasn't in the deck.
You're right. Oh, man. All right.
That's Hearthstone in a nutshell.
Wow. At least we got it. We got the footage, boys. We got the footage.
Got there. Then just splice in the Shaman win footage for
everything. Yeah, just the same end screen for every.
Why is it always a Shaman that wins? Something else.
So I mean, obviously as a gamer, you've played Hearthstone. You've entered into a couple of other titles. I know you've reached pretty high level, upper echelons of World of Warcraft. And I think you joined the 3rd best rating guild.
The Flying Hellfish. This was back in Burning Crusade. So when Black Temple was the premier raid, and we were US 3rd when we took down Illidan. And that was interesting because I was playing in the league at the time. So
how did you find the time to do that?
It was tough because they were a West Coast guild and I was on Central Time.
Man!
And we didn't start raiding till like 9 p.m. and 9 p.m. Pacific
11.
time. Yeah, so 11 for me, and finish up around like 1 in the morning Pacific time, which is 3 in the morning for me. So there were some practices where I was a little tired the next day.
Coaches ever notice?
No, they didn't.
I was gonna say I don't know how the conversation would go. Like, Chris, you're not kicking too well today. Sorry, huge.
Because Illidan was being a bastard.
Yeah. you understand. So I mean, was kind of WoW your go-to game? Was that kind of the main title that you played, or what was it? League? Like, what was your kind of favorite game throughout the years? You think?
Yeah, so when Ultima Online, hold on, let my dogs.
No problem. No, take your time.
We'll fix it in post. Yes. So basically, when Ultima Online first came out, like that was when I really started getting into MMOs. Like I played Ultima, I think for like 2 or 3 years. Played Asheron's Call, Anarchy Online. Like pretty much, if it was an MMO coming out in that time period, like I was.
You were on it.
Give it a shot. Yeah.
Yep.
And then I think I was playing Dark Age of Camelot pretty heavily when WoW was first released. And so I didn't play the first like 3 or 4 months. And then one of my friends was like, "You got to check out WoW. Like it's it's amazing. It's leaps and bounds beyond any other MMO out there." And so I gave it a shot. I'm like, "Yeah, this is way better."
I remember when it first came out. I like played a little bit, but I think I hit that point where a lot of players hit it, where it's like, okay, I either really get into this,
right,
or I need to stop. Like
I hit that point right before Burning Crusade came out, where it was I was in a guild and like we were raiding Molten Core fairly regularly, but we weren't a very good like guild. You know, we'd always have people kind of straggling behind, people doing their job very well. We tried Blackwing Lair a couple times, but we're never really able to do anything in there. And so at that point, I was like, I want to see this content, but like I'm not going to be able to do it in this guild.
Right.
And I talked with them about it because like I'd become pretty good friends with quite a few people in there. I'm like, hey, look, like nothing against you guys. Like I want to try like hardcore rating, and I don't see us reaching that point. They're like, yeah, that's fine. Like go do what you
go do you. Yeah.
Yeah, go do you. And so this is the one time in my life that I have pulled the I'm an NFL player card. So the Flying Helmets had applications for they had a rogue slot, a mage slot, and a hunter slot open up. And so I submitted for the rogue slot and listed all my qualifications. And at the very end, I was also like, oh yeah, and by the way, I play for the Minnesota Vikings. and I got in.
That was it. You didn't know that your career had built up to that moment.
Exactly. It was all to get me into the WoW rating guild of my career.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And then I kept playing WoW all the way up through Cataclysm. And then right about then, my wife and we had our second daughter. And at that point, I was just like, I need games that I can step away from. Like, I can't raid and also, take care of 2 young children. So, yeah, at that point, I moved more to like single player type games slash games where you don't have to be there for 3 hours at a stretch in order.
Right. And not let a lot of people down in the process.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And you play League of Legends now and then?
I used to actually play it quite a bit. I haven't really played it recently. My Twitch reflexes aren't what they used to be, and I get frustrated when I know I'm not doing well and I should be doing well.
Yeah. No, I played Dota growing up, and that was kind of like my main games, and a lot of that's just like overall strategy and kind of tactics of fast twitch muscles. But when we first started getting to Fortnite, for example, I was seeing these 10-year-olds just lightning fast reflexes, and you can't practice that. You're
right. It's like 360 no scope headshot.
Right. Like, okay, cool. I'll try.
Exactly. You got me, kid. But yeah, no, it's I actually had a lot of fun though watching the League of Legends, the championship series. So the pro teams like playing, and I got my kids into watching it too, and they really liked it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It was really cool to watch it because you could see it was like watching a professional sport. You could tell these guys have spent a lot of time practicing and like learning to work together as a team, and it showed. And it was always like, come on, team solo mid, you can do it. It's like.
Disappointments.
Run into one of the Chinese teams or the
Korean teams. Yeah, no, but it looks like North America's definitely picked up very recently too. Mm-hmm. They've been very competitive. So I think that kind of leads me very nicely into the last few questions that I have for you around esports specifically. So I think you've mentioned a few times that you personally believe that esports is going to be validated as a legitimate traditional sport in, maybe the next 5, 10, 15 years. What do you think needs to happen before we get to this sort of level of acceptance by the general public and also the infrastructure to support the sport as it does for, let's say, the NFL or NBA or countless other professional leagues right now?
Yeah, so the first part of it is just organic. It's that once you have kids that have grown up playing these games, and then they start having kids of their own and passing that on. And that actually is a big challenge for esports, because like a lot of video games don't last longer than 5 to 8 years, right?
Right.
Like in terms of the single iteration of a video game. I mean, we're seeing that start to change with games as a service, but like for a long time it's like, okay, if you're still playing this game 2 years later, why? There's a sequel out that's better.
Yep.
So I think games like League of Legends, games like Dota 2, Counter-Strike, games that can constantly evolve but still maintain that same core. Those are the ones where, again, as people age up and then they start having their own kids and they're able to pass down kind of that tradition of like, hey, this is really cool. I used to do this as a kid. It's a way for parents and their children to relate to each other. I think you'll see a bunch of growth there. But then in terms from the actual like industry side of esports, it needs to be presented as a compelling package that someone who doesn't understand anything about esports can tune in and figure out like, oh, this is cool. Like, I enjoy watching this. And the football example would be like the NFL for a long time wasn't really like a top tier sport, but all of a sudden, like John Madden becomes a broadcaster, and I know he's kind of a joke now, but when he first started broadcasting for the NFL, like he brought in so many people because he was able to break down these incredibly complex concepts in a way that a viewer who didn't watch much football could understand. And so, he had his telecaster and he'd draw what's happening. And so all of a sudden you could tune into an NFL football game and John Madden would be explaining to you, here's what you just saw, here's why it's important. And then people are like, oh, I can grasp that. Like,
yeah.
So I don't think esports has really had, like a broadcaster like that, right? And it's tough too, because with esports, generally the action is fairly continuous.
Right.
There's really a lot of breaks. Whereas football, right? You run a play and then there's a break. You run a play, there's a break. So there is some time to do that. But like that is something where that accessibility to sort of the casual viewer, I think is it can be overcome, and I think it can be overcome in different ways than traditional sports, but it's something that esports needs to focus on. Like one thing like I always wanted to see in League of Legends was, okay, mainly the view is you have, a single person controlling a camera, right? And like they're either showing what's happening in mid, they're showing what's happening top, maybe they're, they flash over to the jungle because something's about to go out. And I was thinking, like, you're broadcasting this through the internet. Like, you're not on a TV. Why not have a dedicated stream like for each player? So if someone wants to watch what that player's doing for the entirety of the game, they can just watch what that player's doing.
Right.
Like because maybe I want to become really good at jungling, but I'm only seeing like a third of what the jungler's doing. How do I play the early game, right? Like how do I play the mid game? And for people to watch the entirety of that, all of a sudden you're like, oh, cool. Oh, so that's why they took that path through those creep camps. So,
and the spectator mode is also always seems to be sort of the second thought for a lot of developers, because they have to focus on making the game fun, but they don't really think about, okay, what as a spectator, what's the experience like?
That was a big problem with Overwatch, like where it was just like, what am I watching?
It's so fast. Yeah, it's just a lot of colors everywhere. I think the narrative is also missing, because you bring up the fact that esports is more often a continuous set of actions than like a discrete set, like like football. But what's beautiful to watch about soccer is you get to see the play develop from the backfield to front. Right, exactly. Right, and when you have those 5 different screens on 5 different characters, you're jumping to action. You can't form this narrative of the game. Yeah, and it's almost like I'd rather watch the mini map.
Right, exactly. Like, give me the overview. Like, it's like, like I'll tune in to where I think stuff is happening, but I want to see the overall. Like, okay, I can see that the action is building to this point, so now I'm going to focus down in and see when it actually goes on. Yeah, exactly. It's just stuff like that. I mean, but the other thing too is that esports is a very young industry. Like, this is something that didn't really exist like 10, 15 years ago. In
come out of nowhere. Yeah.
So I mean, it's just something where ideally they can learn from traditional sports, both what traditional sports have done right and what the mistakes traditional sports have made. That's another thing that I think both players and teams should be pushing for is unions. So I'm a strong proponent of a players union. So that way, like players know, okay, if I'm playing as well as this other player, like we're being compensated appropriately, right? Or like, if I'm earning 50 grand a year playing for this team, but everyone on this other team's earning 150 grand a year, like why why is
Where's the difference, right?
Scary, right?
Yeah.
And then, but one of the things that really differentiates esports from traditional sports is that like no one owns football, right? Like it's not like you go down to the park and all of a sudden Roger Goodell shows up and you're like, hey, you need to pay me $50.
Yeah.
Like
where's my fee? Yeah.
You can go play football, but with esports, like there is a publisher that owns that game, right? And so like with Riot, right? Like they own the game and they're also the ones broadcasting it. So like they're, you know, if someone wants to go play League of Legends but doesn't want to play by Riot's rules, they can't really do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a hurdle, but it's also an advantage in that in traditional sports you have essentially two sides. You have the players and you have the owners. And those two sides, like that's all there is. There's nothing else. In esports, you have the players, you have the owners of the teams, right? And then you have the publishers. So if you set it up properly, you can always have two of those sides playing off against each other, and it's a much more stable structure. Because there will be things that players won't want to do, but that owners and publishers will be like, no, this makes a lot of sense. And then there'll be things that, you know, publishers won't want to do, but then players and owners are like, no, that makes a lot of sense. We got to do that. So it gives you a bit more flexibility in terms of organizing your labor and in terms of organizing that contract. And if you do it right, you can avoid a lot of labor strife, but you have to make a conscious effort to do that.
I have not heard that view of the industry and how it should evolve. I mean, it's basically the three branches of government right there.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
and again, like it's stable as long as each one, you know, has their own spheres of influence, their own power, and
right.
they understand like, here's where we band with, you know, this one, here's where we band with this one. But, you know, at certain points, like the other two are going to be against us. And,
right.
And that way, like everyone has give and take and you can make the entire system work.
Last question here then. So, you know, you've done so many different things. I mean, going from being an NFL level punter to being a published author, very different tracks, and you've been able to accomplish that. And on top of that, third best rating guild. Yeah. So as you kind of figured out how to balance this as part of your life, what would you say to parents who look at kids who are very into gaming in one form or the other and worry about, you know, where this is all going? How can they lead a balanced and highly developmental life with something like gaming that they're not sure about involved in such a big way?
Right. I think the way to look at it is that nowadays, esports is a much more legitimate path to success than it was before. Like, you know, 10 years ago, it used to be very, very hard to make a living, you know, as an esport athlete.
Yeah.
Like that. It was either like you were one of the very best or you were just somehow making it work. Whereas now it's like, okay, you know, you can have those middle tier guys, those journeyman guys that, you know, kind of can bounce around but still make a living out of it. So from a parent's perspective, it would be like, I would say if my kids wanted to go into esports, I'd be like, okay, like I will support you in trying to do this, but same as if you were trying to get into like traditional sports, like there is a limited window that you can do this, and you will know after a couple years if you are good enough or not to make it.
Yeah.
And if you're not good enough, that's okay. Like there's a lot of people who aren't good enough, but you need to find something else to do. Like you need to be able to devote your time to something else and understand that for you, this might just be a hobby that you're very passionate about.
Sure.
Because like that's the thing that we try to explain to a lot of traditional athletes, is that, you know, in high school, like 1% of the kids are going to go on to play in college. And then in college, 1% of those kids are going to go on to play in the NFL. There are a lot of people who play football who will never play in the NFL. Yep. But that's okay. Like that doesn't mean you stop playing football. It just means, okay, this isn't going to be my living. Like this is going to be something that I enjoy, but now I'm focusing on making my living some other ways.
And I think that's absolutely a challenge that people run into when kids say they want to get into esports or become an esports pro. You know, that's the same thing we say too. It's just look, like you have to be very good to get to that level.
Well, the other thing too is it's not just sitting on your couch playing video games. It's you are legit practicing to master a set of skills that require very precise motions and very quick reflexes.
Yep.
That isn't just something that you just do. Like
it's not natural talent only. Yeah. Right. It takes work, structured practice. Yeah. Well, and you know, kind of the last follow-up on that is, for those athletes that don't make it to the pros, there still is this full support for youth sports because, you know, for me growing up, it was a social bonding experience. I got to learn how to deal with tough challenges. And at the end of the day, like the competition side of things, just the ability to like work on something and perfect my craft. That was my favorite part. And I think a lot of parents have trouble seeing the parallel to that versus kids playing games. And when you do treat it as esports and not just video games, there is that level of structured practice that you're talking about. So in that sense, like, what do you think about the parallels drawn between you as a youth athlete that had, continued to train to get to the NFL, and as a gamer who's like, for your rating, you said, look, like I need to take this seriously and you guys aren't doing it. So I need to find people who are. Like, where are the parallels there for you?
Right. Well, I mean, it's a direct one-to-one parallel. It's that if you want to be the best in the world at something, you have to devote your time to actually practicing what it is that you're doing. Like I can go down to the park and kick a football around and that's fine. Like I might learn some skills, but if I want to be an NFL punter, like I need to put in hours and hours and hours of learning the minutia, the tiny little details that like you can only learn if you spend the time doing it.
Right.
And if you have coaches to help you learn like stuff that, because like with anything in life, it doesn't just magically pop into your head, the knowledge of how to do it. You have to be taught what you're doing. And then it's a question of, okay, how quickly do you pick it up? How quickly do you make that part of your routine and you're able to actually, express it out on whatever play field you're on. And so I would say like, if you're going into esports, like it's fun. You should do it because you like doing it, but it is also potentially a job. And if you want it to be your job, you have to treat it like a job, which means you have to dedicate yourself to it. Because like, I mean, you see a lot of kids out there, like younger esport professionals, right? Where to them, it's like, oh, great. Like I'm in this house, I got some money, I'm doing this stuff. And it's like same thing in the NFL, you get rookies who come in where it's like, oh, I was a second round pick, I got this money, like I'm on this team. And then 2 years later they flame out because they didn't take it seriously. It's like, if you want to do this, like, making it to the team is just the first step. Now you got to keep staying on the team.
Right.
Like, so yeah, there, in my mind, there is no difference between the steps it takes to become a professional esports athlete versus becoming a traditional athlete. It's just a difference in how it's expressed physically and what skills are required.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking time to interview. This was super enlightening, very interesting for me. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
I got a win.
We did it. All right, well, that sounds like the signal here from your dog. So, Chris, thanks for being with us, and we'll hopefully be in touch.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.